Hello students, welcome to Ibps Upsc classes, and today we are going to study reading comprehension. As you all know, reading comprehension is one of the most common questions that appear in school, college and even competitive examinations. And one of the most normal tendency when we get a reading comprehension question is to go through the questions first instead of the passage. Although it seems like it's the best way to go about it since the process gets faster, I would not recommend it because often we miss out on the correct answers because we haven't read the entire passage. So the correct approach I think that we should follow is we have to read the passage as if it's a normal passage instead of worrying about the fact that we have to answer questions about it. Then the chances of making mistakes completely gets reduced. So let us try that process out with this sample passage which we will read together. So let us begin reading. Recently, I spent several hours sitting under a tree in my garden with the social anthropologist William Murray, a Harvard University professor who specializes in the art of negotiation and wrote the best-selling book, Getting to Yes. He captivated me with his theory that tribalism protects people from the fear of rapid change. He explained that the pillars of tribalism that humans rely on for security would always counter any significant cultural or social change. In this way, he said change is never allowed to happen too fast. Technology, example, is a pillar of society. Urey believes that every time technology moves in a new or radical direction, another pillar such as religion or nationalism will grow stronger. In effect, the traditional and familiar will assume greater importance to compensate for the new and untested. In this manner, human tribes avoid rapid change that leaves people insecure and frightened. But we have all heard that nothing is as permanent as change. Nothing is guaranteed. Pithy expressions to be sure, but no more than cliches. As Urey says, people don't live that way from day to day. On the contrary, they actively seek certainty and stability. They want to know they will be safe. Even so, we scare ourselves constantly with the idea of change. An IBM CEO once said, we only restructure for a good reason. And if we haven't restructured it in a while, then a good reason. We are scared that competitors, technology and the consumer will put us out of business. So we have to change all the time just to stay alive. But if you asked our fathers and grandfathers, would they have said that they in a period of little change? Structure may not have changed much. It may just be the speed with which we do things. Change is overrated anyway. Consider the automobile. It's an essentially valuable because the auto industry has spent tens of billions of dollars on research and product development in the last 100 years. Henry Ford's first car has a metal chassis with an internal combustion gasoline-powered engine, 4 wheels with rubber tires, a foot-operated clutch assembly and brake system, a steering wheel and 4 seats, and it could safely do 18 miles per hour. 100 years and tens of thousands of research hours later, we discover cars with a metal chassis with an internal combustion gasoline-powered engine, 4 wheels with rubber tires, a foot-operated clutch assembly and brake system, a steering wheel, 4 seats, and the average speed in London 2001 was 17.5 miles per hour. That's not a hell lot of return for the money. Ford evidently doesn't have much to teach us about change. The fact that they're still manufacturing cars is not proof that Ford Motor Company is a sound organization, just proof that it takes very large companies to make cars in great quantities, making for an almost impregnable entry barrier. 50 years after the development of the jet engine, planes are also little changed. They've grown bigger, wider and can carry more people, but those are incremental, largely cosmetic changes. Taken together, this lack of real change has come to mean that in travel, whether driving or flying, time and technology have not combined to make things much better. Safety and design have, of course, accompanied the times and the new volume of cars and flights, but nothing of any significance has changed in the basic assumptions of the final product. At the same time, moving around in cars or airplanes becomes less and less efficient all the time. Not only has there been no great change, but also both forms of transport have deteriorated as more people clamor to use them. The same is true for telephones, which took over 100 years to become mobile or photographic film, which also required an entire century to change. The only explanation for this is anthropological. Once established in calcified organizations, humans do 2 things: sabotage changes that might render people dispensable and ensure industry-wide emulation. In the 1960s, German auto companies developed plans to scrap the entire combustion engine for an electrical design. The same existed in the 1970s in Japan and the 1980s in France. So for 40 years, we might have been free of wasteful and ludicrous dependence on fossil fuels. Why didn't it go anywhere? Because auto executives understood pistons and carburetors and would be loath to cannibalize their expertise, along with most of the factories. Now, let us come to the questions. So the first question, all these are multiple choice questions, of course. Which of the following views does the author fully support in the passage? A. Nothing is as permanent as change. B. Change is always rapid. C. More money spent on innovation leads to more rapid change. D. Over decades, structural change has been incremental. So again, this type of question is the type of question you wouldn't be able to answer unless you've read the entire passage, because in order to know the author's view, it's you can't just find it from a random sentence. So if we remember the passage, so nothing is as permanent as change is not the point of the author. More money spent on innovation leads to more rapid change. Obviously, the author says something completely opposite if you remember the passage. And point D, over decades, structural change has been incremental, is something the author vehemently disagrees with. So we are left with point B, which is change is always rapid. Something from the reading of the passage itself, we know that's the basic point that the author is trying to make. So automatically, we know that the answer for the same is point B. Point B is our answer. So again, because we have read the entire passage, it becomes very easy for us to confidently answer this and quickly. The next question is, according to the passage, which the following statements is true? Statement A is, executives of automobile companies are inefficient and nutritious. I don't think this is true at all, and you also know, because you've read the passage with me, that this is not what the author suggests. B, the speed at which an automobile is driven in a city has not changed much in a century. Again, there is a point that we know that the author isn't specifically highlighting on or specifically focusing on. Point C, anthropological factors have fostered innovation in automobiles by promoting use of new technologies. Again, there is a point that we know is definitely not true. It's not something that the author is focusing on. Again, coming back to the question, which of the following statements are true according to the passage? So the last statement is, further innovation in jet engines has been more than incremental. Again, we know that this is the statement that the author has spoken about in the passage. We know that this statement is true. So it's very easy for us to understand the answer because we have read the passage in its entirety. I can't harp on this point enough. If we hadn't read the passage, it would be impossible for us to scrounge for the answer. It would take a lot of time. So again, point D is the correct answer for question 2. Let us move to another question, which is question number 4. I think we have missed out question number 3, so we'll go back to question number 3 once more before we move to question 4. Which of the following best describes one of the main ideas discussed in the passage? A, rapid change is usually welcomed in society. B, human tribes avoid rapid change. C, we should have less change than what we have now. D, competition spurs companies into radical innovation. Again, point A, rapid changes is usually welcomed in the society, is not the main idea. It's not the main idea of the passage at all. The main idea of the passage is not that we should have less change than what we have now. The author never even suggests that. Competition spurs companies into radical innovation. Again, this is not something that the author suggests. And even if he suggests this is not the central idea. The central idea is human tribes avoid rapid change. The moment we read the first paragraph and the last paragraph and the entire thing, it sums up the thing. It talks about the fact that human tribes avoid rapid change. So automatically this is the central idea that we're looking for. And now let us go to question 4. Which is basically very simple. According to the passage, the reason why we continue to be dependent on fossil fuels is that A, auto executives did not wish to change. B, no alternative fuels were discovered. C, change in technology was not easily possible. D, German, Japanese and French companies could not come up with new technologies. As we know from the reading of the passage, this has a very straight answer that no alternative fuels will discover is not the case. Change in technology is not the case. German, Japanese and French companies are not involved in the entire idea. Simple idea is fossil fuels, we continue to be dependent on them according to the passage is because auto executives did not wish to change. Because we have read through the passage, we can correctly identify the answer within minutes. Again, so with this sample passage, what I'd like all of you to understand is the fact that comprehension is like any other passage. Doesn't matter what questions are there. You read it through as if it's an interesting passage or an article you're reading. The moment your brain processes it as a question, then you're not reading it seriously. You're only searching for answers. And then it becomes difficult to find the answers because you are constantly looking for clues instead of understanding what the passage is about. The moment you understand what a passage is about by very calmly taking time to read it, then the questions become like super easy. Thank you so much. I hope from now on reading comprehension using this approach will get easier for you. Thank you.